Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, the Supreme Court upholds criminal defamation laws in the country. In other words, those found guilty of criminal defamation, and it's not a civil lawsuit we are talking about, you could be jailed for up to 2 years. That is the current law. It stands. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed it. The Supreme Court has made it clear that the right to life includes the right to reputation. Today's judgment comes as a setback for the BJP's Subramanian, Swamy, Arvind, Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi, bitter political rivals. Political rivals united by a common cause. They all wanted the Supreme Court to remove criminal defamation laws, except that it didn't happen. And they may now have to face trial in defamation cases that they face.
Bitter rivals Subramanian, Swamy, Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal ironically united by defeat in their battle to get the criminal defamation laws struck down. The Supreme Court today upheld the validity of the laws, rejecting their argument that they are being misused to gag political rivals. The defamation laws were also challenged by other politicians and journalists in separate petitions. The court agreed with the stand of the centre and states that the laws must be retained as a deterrent. Otherwise, in the age of social media, one's reputation can be damaged within a minute, and once damaged, it can't be salvaged easily, and it will also lead to anarchy. The court said right to life includes right to reputation. It is difficult to say that criminal defamation has a chilling effect on freedom of speech and expression, but warned magistrates to be careful while issuing summons in such cases. The Jayalalitha government has filed around 100 cases against politicians and media houses, including 6 against Subramanian, Swamy for his attacks on the AIADMK chief. Rahul Gandhi faces a case for holding RSS responsible for the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal faces a large number of cases, including the ones filed by BJP leaders Jaitley, Nitin Gadkari and Congress leader Kapil Sibbal's son Amit Sibbal.
First of all, I'm not suffering. I won every defamation case that has ever been filed on me. From my personal point of view, it's an 80% success. But I can always now go again to a constitutional bench and challenge the same thing again.
It is an absurdity. This is a colonial dinosaur. It had to go, and the judgment is a disaster. Criminal defamation has become a playground for politicians and public men.
Now these 3 leaders and others will have to fight their cases, though the court has given them 8 weeks to challenge the suits in a high court.
The top court tried to strike a balance between freedom of speech and individuals' right to reputation. But on the ground, it may encourage those in power to slap defamation cases against their political rivals. In New Delhi, with Sunil Prabhu, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
All right, the freedom of speech versus the right of having a reputation, that's what the Supreme Court says is also very, very primary in this particular issue. Joining us now to debate this, Dr. Subramanian, Swamy. He's been closely tracking this case for many, many years now. He's also faced and continues to face several cases against him. Raghav Chadha of the Aam Aadmi Party, Dr. Abhishek Singhvi, spokesperson of the Congress, will be with us shortly. Pinky Anand, the additional Solicitor General, and we'll also be joined by Raju Ramchandran, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court. Dr. Swamy, thanks very much for joining us. Let me come to you first, sir. Is going back to the Supreme Court, a larger bench, the only option that is available to you? Do you believe that realistically you have a chance to overturn what has happened?
Well, I mean, there are other options too. I certainly, the court has stayed the defamation cases filed by Jayalalitha for 8 weeks, and they have said that I should go to the High Court and get the defamation cases quashed there. So that's my first option. I'll go to the High Court, and these are absurd defamation cases. This is not the first time Jayalalitha has filed defamation cases. I would say if you take the last 20 years, she may have filed close to 60, 70 defamation cases against me and lost all of them. And so these 6 are the remnants. And I'll probably go to the Madras High Court and get it quashed. And if I have any problem with the Madras High Court, I get another excuse to come to the Supreme Court and say that now this matter must go to the Constitution bench rather than the division bench of the Supreme Court.
Dr. Swamy, isn't it strange that today in the Supreme Court, and indeed in this case, you find yourself along with people like Arvind Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi, some of your most bitter political rivals, but all wanting the same thing, that criminal defamation needs to go. Isn't it a strange irony that you should be united in this manner?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that unlike your channel propagating, it's not Rahul Gandhi who filed the case. The cause list is very clear, and it shows that it is Subramanian Swamy versus the Union of India, where Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi have implemented themselves in the case. They didn't file the case. I filed the case, and so that's why the cause list leads with my name. Now, the fact is that irrespective of whether we are enemies or not, we have a malady in this country that people try to silence opponents by misusing Section 199 of the CRPC, which enables the state, not the person, the state to file a case against the opponents. Now, Jayalalitha has not filed a case against me at all. All these 6 cases have been filed on a complaint of Jayalalitha, but by the Tamil Nadu government.
Yes.
And the money will be, and lawyers will all be engaged by the Tamil Nadu government. So, I mean, she's free now once she files it. That's a misuse of government money and government laws.
In fact,
there is a scope left in the judgment.
Yeah. Doctor, I just want to go across to Raju Ramchandran for his views on this. If you look at the case of Jayalalitha, she has filed more than 100 defamation cases against many people, certainly against Subramanian Swamy. Isn't it a pretty fair argument that politicians and those in power should have the power, these individuals have the power to actually file any cases they want against any individual they seek? Has enough been done by the Supreme Court today to ensure that that doesn't happen?
Vishnu, I think the last part of the judgment takes care of that by giving the option to all the petitioners to move the respective high courts for quashing, for discharge, whatever remedies are available. And there are enough remedies available in the law to look after this aspect when frivolous cases are filed. But on the larger issue, is criminal defamation constitutional or unconstitutional?
Yes.
I agree with the bottom line of the Supreme Court that criminal defamation falls within the 4 corners of the Constitution. There can be debate on some nuances in the judgment, whether the provisions of Section 499 need to have been read down to make the Supreme Court's view consistent with its own views on civil defamation, because right now a reading of the judgment would indicate that the threshold of criminal defamation now seems to be lower, since the Supreme Court in the case of civil defamation more than 20 years back had said things like no fault defamation would be unconstitutional. So there should have been some reading down, but the bottom line that criminal defamation is constitutional, I think, is absolutely correct.
Raghav Chadda, I find it a strange irony that on the one hand, Arvind Kejriwal would seek criminal defamation being removed. That's obviously not worked out. On the other hand, your party has been in 2015 threatening people left, right and center with criminal defamation. You issued a circular threatening media houses in 2015. So why this double standard?
Well, Vishnu, a couple of things. First of all, the Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional validity of criminal defamation. Certainly, the Supreme Court in its wisdom has taken a call, but the implementation of the law also needs to be considered. Whether the law is now being implemented or being carried out or being used by certain powerful people to curb dissent or to prevent bona fide criticism is also something that we need to see. Now, there are a couple of points that I would like to make. First, certainly, is that as far as the government of Delhi is concerned, I acknowledge that we had issued that circular, but No such case has ever been filed by the government or by any of my party colleagues. That's one. Point number two, the criminal defamation is a colonial law. It was introduced on the statute books even before India had a constitution or a democracy. It was conceptualized and introduced by the British to protect the interest of the British Raj, that is the state,
No, but
not
you're
of
giving
an
me a history.
individual
I'm asking you
or
a very
a private
specific
entity.
question. Doesn't the
And
Aam Aadmi
various-
Party have double
and various
standards?
countries.
On the one hand, you yourself, Raghav, have a defamation case against you. On the other hand, Arvind Kejriwal is fighting to ensure that defamation is removed. Criminal defamation was removed. Your party has also gone and challenged media houses, saying that we are going to charge you with criminal defamation. So which side of the divide are you on?
Well, okay, as far as we are concerned, as far as me and my party colleagues are concerned, no amount of defamation cases can harass or intimidate us, or
But it's
will
okay to
deter
harass
us
and intimidate
from
others.
indulging in bona fide
It
criticism.
is okay for your party to harass and intimidate the media and issue
we have not,
circulars.
Vishnu, challenge. Please tell me which channel, which media house, or which individual against which we have filed
Did you
a
not
defamation
issue a
case.
circular
We have
in
been indulging
2015
in bona fide
threatening media
criticism.
houses with criminal action?
You see, I
If
am
they
not.
stop
I am
bringing
not
down-
the spokesperson.
Yes.
I am not the. Let me complete. I am not the spokesperson of the government of NCT of Delhi. I am the spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. I can comment on the conduct
that's
of
a
my
very criminal fine line. That's a very
party and my
thin fine
colleagues,
line
and we
at
have
this
not
stage on this
and
issue.
we have not filed any defamation case.
Well,
but the
that's a
larger
relief.
point that I am trying to raise,
That's a
Vishnu,
relief.
is that we have seen in this country. We have seen in this country how the accused are being put to this to bear to mount a legal defense, have been asked to go to court every now and then and face defamation
And
trials
therefore, all those
only
individuals
because they
that you were
indulged in
threatening
bona fide
last year,
criticism.
unfortunately, you haven't put a case against. These individuals would be thinking exactly the same thing. But let me go across to Pinky Anand. Pinky, isn't this at one level absolutely wonderful what the Supreme Court has done, for the reason that we are in an age when online abuse is a reality we have to accept? There are people who threaten, people who abuse, people who say whatever they want. Had the Supreme Court overturned the laws, wouldn't it have been easier for people online to continue trolling and to continue abusing?
No, you're right, Vishnu. Actually, we are coming to a time where, with the increasing internet and other virtual world reality, we're having a situation which is highly possible to be abusive and to threaten and to otherwise intimidate people. And ultimately, when this was being talked about, that this law was made in the British times, no doubt the penal law was made then. But the Constitution specifically recognizes in Article 19(2) that a law of defamation can be made by the state and would be valid. So, here you have an entire circumference of saying a person's reputation is equally important to the fundamental right of speech. And in fact, defamation is an exception to this, A. And B, I must add to this, that you have 9 exceptions to section 499 IPC, which save issues which are not defamatory and which allow issues on good faith to be said. Yes. So there are principally exceptions to the law of defamation also, A. And B, when you have a situation where your reputation is being besmirched, and this includes, by the way, media and all also today, the law, in fact, the judgment has considered even what is the effect, whether journalists have a special right to be able to say whatever they can. But a person's reputation can be sullied at the drop of a hat by a few sentences which are said, and the way people respond to it, the way people are watching, the way people are communicating, you would have a situation which would be totally dastardly. So the upholding of a law is one part, which is very important to ensure that the freedom of speech is freedom of speech only, and not the freedom of bad speech, so to say, if I may use that expression. One. And secondly, you have safeguards built into the system. And thirdly, what we need, and which is being done, is that the courts are exercising their discretion as and when a judgment, an order, let's say, of summoning is bad. For example, a case is not made out and summons are, for example, issued by the magistrate. It is subject. Yes. So therefore, you have an entire scheme. So the whole scheme has to withstand, and we should be able to withstand such a situation when defamation has been upheld in civil law, when defamation is upheld in criminal law. And I think therefore the judgment is a very welcome step in this entire evolution of saying we do have a speech right, but we also have a right to be decent.
Okay, that's important. Dr. Singhvi, you were on the winning side. You were on the winning side today. In other words, defamation cases in particular instances, you would argue, particularly in the case that you represented, are important. On the other hand, you've got your political side as well. Rahul Gandhi faces defamation cases. So how do you reconcile the differences, you as a political leader and you as a lawyer representing Amit Sibal in this particular case?
I think there is no contradiction if you understand the nature of the proceeding. The first mistake we are making is this is only a judgment about the constitutional validity or otherwise of section 499. That's the basic point which we cannot forget. In other words, 499 as framed is constitutionally valid or not is the question the court addressed. And I think perfectly rightly and understandably it came to the conclusion that it is valid. It did so for two important reasons which have to be looked at and can't be ignored. It was not concerned with the facts of individual cases. The two important reasons were, one, the very concept of reputation. Reputation is everything. A person works all his life for reputation. For most people it is above money, above prosperity, above family, above everything. So reputation, the judgment traces from ancient times up to modern times in all literature, legal and non-legal, ancient and contemporary, is the most vital attribute of a human personality. And second, that reputation, defamation is not merely civil. Criminal defamation protects public interest and is not meant for individual interest. That is a finding which the court rightly gave. If you add up those two, they simply held that despite the provision of 499 being valid, it is entirely open for each one of us, whether it's a Dr. Subramanian Swamy or Amit Sibal, whom I represented against AAP, or other people, or for that matter Mr. Rahul Gandhi, to go and prove in the individual case that he has not done anything which amounts to criminal defamation. Criminal defamation on the facts of a case has to be something gross.
Okay,
it has to be something which is not
Dr. Swamy, I think
bona fide and not in the public interest.
Dr.
So that
Swamy,
remand, just one second more, that remand remains for each litigant to prove in the appropriate trial court or high court, and that will be decided on the facts of the case.